Good afternoon.
Sorry about that.
Let's try that again.
We're starting over a mix.
Sounds like somebody has to go to meeting up.
We get that go-to meeting up.
No, I mean,
On here? Oh.
Is it? I'm gonna try it again. Dan. Good afternoon and welcome to our joint city of Fayetteville. Give us one moment, please. We're having some technical difficulties. We're gonna try to get this straight for our audio and sound. Appreciate your patience and for those that are watching.
thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the joint City of Fayetteville-Cumberland County Liaison Committee meeting. Today is Monday, March 17th, 2025. We are here at the Cumberland County Courthouse, room 564. Committee members are as Chairman, Vice Chairwoman Veronica Jones, which is myself, also Co-Chair Mayor Pro Tem Kathy Jensen, the City of Fayetteville. We also have Chairman Kirk Deviere, Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, Mayor Mitch Colvin of the City of Fayetteville, Commissioner Pavan Patel, Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, and Councilmember Courtney Banks McLaughlin from the City of Fayetteville. The goal of these meetings is because we want to make sure that we are enhancing the quality of life for a healthy community, county, and city. Today's meeting will be all about our economic development. And now I will call on Ava Clark. She is our deputy clerk, and she will be providing us with today's application and the Pledge of Allegiance. For those that can, please stand.
Dear Lord God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for another opportunity to gather in your presence. We ask, God, that you will give us wisdom and guidance. Help us as we make decisions regarding your people. And we ask, God, that you will be with each of us as we leave this place. Continue to encamp your angels around us and be with us as only you can. In your name we pray and thank you. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I've asked for all the committee members to please review your agenda, and if there's no need of any changes, I'll ask for approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda, Madam Chair.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
We will continue on with the agenda. Item number 3, economic development presentations. First presentation will be provided by Ty Vaught. He is our Chief of Staff, and he's also Interim Community Development Director. While he's preparing, I would ask also, we're going to be on a very tight time frame. Please hold all questions until the end of his presentation.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman and committee members. So I'm going to be respectful of the time so we can move this along. So my name is, again, Ty Vaught. I'm the Chief of Staff and the Interim Community Development Director for Cumberland County. And I appreciate the opportunity to present how our department's programs contribute to the economic development across the county. While community development is often associated with housing, the programs that we administer are such as rehabilitation, homeownership assistance, and business loan programs directly impact our local economy. By improving housing conditions and supporting entrepreneurs and funding services that build self-sufficiency, we are strengthening neighborhoods and creating pathways for economic growth. Additionally, I'd like to acknowledge the Board of Commissioners' $2 million investment of American Rescue Plan dollars into FTCC's HOPE program. This workforce development initiative was vital in preparing our citizens with the skills they need to succeed in today's job market, which directly supports both employers and our local economy. So very briefly, our county is a recipient of HUD entitlement funds, specifically community development block grant funds,
I'm
as
sorry,
well as...
Mr. Ty. Can you enhance that and make it a little bit bigger for those to make sure they can see, if possible?
I'm gonna call Danny because I will mess it up.
Just need to
Thank you
move
so
it.
much.
There you go. Bam.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So very briefly, our county is a recipient of HUD funding to include community development block grant funds and home investment partnership dollars. This federal funding is critical to our ability to address the local needs. We operate outside of the city of Fayetteville and within multiple jurisdictions in Cumberland County to include the other 8 municipalities and the unincorporated areas. These partnerships strengthen our ability to deliver impactful services across municipal boundaries, supporting the county as a whole. We are governed by of course, the Board of County Commissioners, but also our HUD-mandated consolidated planning process. This includes the 5-year consolidated plan, which we actually are in the midst of right now. The plan is actually due May 17th. Our annual action plans, which are basically bite-sized versions of that consolidated plan, and our comprehensive and annual performance evaluation reports, or the CAPER, which are basically our progress report that comes out each year to see how well we did with our annual action plan and, by extension, our consolidated plan. This ensures that we're addressing the evolving community needs strategically and transparently. In our current plan, our focus has been on 5 priority areas to include housing, the unhoused, community development, economic development, and special needs. But today, we want to briefly highlight how these areas directly contribute to economic development in our county. So I wanted to go through some of our programs very briefly. Our housing rehabilitation and minor repair program helps maintain and improve the county's aging housing stock. This doesn't just benefit homeowners, it creates work and for local contractors, electricians, plumbers, and supply companies. Now I want to shout out and thank the Board of County Commissioners as well for expanding our minor repair home program. That program used to be a $10,000 grant. It is now a $30,000 grant, and so they did that back in April. And that just goes, we all know that since COVID and right before, the cost of doing business has significantly gone up. And so that was something that allowed us to put those dollars back into projects and make those needed housing repairs and rehabs for health and safety purposes. Our rental rehab program supports investors in creating or preserving affordable housing units. We offer low-interest loans that enable property owners to bring substandard units up to code, improving their availability of safe, affordable housing, which is critical to attracting and retaining businesses and residents who also become employees in our county. In our home buyers program, it assists low-income families in achieving homeownership by providing down payment assistance loans. Stable homeownership strengthens neighborhoods, increases property values, and supports economic vitality through consumer spending and community engagement. Our affordable housing development program, we offer both, we work with both nonprofit and for-profit developers to expand affordable housing options. By increasing the supply of affordable units, we can address housing shortages that directly impact the ability of local businesses to recruit and retain a strong workforce. The Public Services Program provides funds to nonprofit agencies that provide job skills, transportation, health services. These services remove barriers to employment, creating a healthier, more prepared workforce in our economy. And I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that we actually have a grant program, a community impact grant program that we are working on. And thanks to the American Rescue Plan Committee, Vice Chairwoman, Commissioner Patel is both serve on that committee. They have stood up this program to allow for local nonprofit to perform a public purpose to apply for up to $50,000 in funding in the areas of health and human services, religious affiliated folks who work with food distribution, emergency management, public safety, child care, youth at risk, and also cultural services, as well as community development initiatives. That application is open until April 1st, and it does not, it is not just for the county, it's anybody, not just the county and not the city of Fayetteville, it includes everybody. And so anybody can apply for that particular program. And then with economic development, our economic development loan program provides microloans and larger capital to small businesses. These loans are targeted at businesses that will create jobs for low to moderate income residents and support entrepreneurship in the county, helping diversify and strengthen our local economy. And I want to close by just saying our community development programs are more than just homes. It's about building a stronger economy and more resilient community. As we continue this important work, we value your partnership and advocacy to help us align our programs with the county's broader economic development mission. Thank you again for your time and your commitment and supporting the work that we do, and we welcome the collaboration and any questions that you may have.
At this time, I will open the floor for discussion and questions. Any questions? Okay, Mayor Mitch Cooley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vaught. Very informative presentation. Did have a question. I saw that, and I assume because we get separate allocations that your operating space is outside of the city, and the city has its own allocation. My question is on your 5-year plan, because our county is viewed as a whole in terms of Tier 1. Is there any communication or alignment with our city economic and community development for poverty reduction purposes? So, in other words, as we have to do a 5-year plan for HUD, you have to do one. Is there any communication that align how we, as a county, reduce that, since we are judged and scored as a county with a Tier 1, 2, or 3 status?
I think it's a great question, Mr. Mayor. I think it's important ongoing that we have conversations and continue to have conversations. In years past, and I'm sure the board and the council's aware, in years past we've partnered with the same consultant to work and do our consolidated plan. And this year we just happened to do those plans separately. But of course, when we talk about partnership and talk about those community stakeholders, many of them are the same individuals. You know, we have the housing. My mind is escaping me right now, but the same, you know, housing authority. So we work collaboratively with those particular partners. But right now, in terms of the consolidated plan, those are separate plans, but we're always open, I know the city is as well, to having conversations about what we can do as a collaborative with our different, and it's not unusual to partner and sometimes bring together funding sources from both the county and the city to do larger projects.
Thank you.
Any more questions at this time? I do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, actually, it's a comment. If you could please inform those that are listening and those that are here, we always want to be mindful for economic development opportunities for our youth. Some know and some don't, but I do know that we do have an internship program. If you can just talk a little bit about that we offer. And then that also, I understand that through the county workforce development, just give it about a few minutes to let people know. Been hearing a lot of questions out in the community for, of course, we're coming up with the summer will be here before you know it, and you do want to know that there's opportunities for them as well.
Well, thank you, Vice Chairman. I'll definitely shout out the internship program. That's another program that originated in the American Rescue Plan Committee. And we've to date had somewhere in the ballpark of 50 interns over 3 different cohorts. And we're currently in our 3rd cohort, which is, I guess, the spring cohort. One of my employees was actually hired from that program. Cedric, where are you? So Cedric used to be an intern. He's a full-time county employee now. And we also have Mr. Deshaun, raise your hand. He's one of our current interns working with us as well. And so it's a really good program that the committee and the commissioner stood up. We're looking for quality employees. We're looking for people who will stay with the county for a very long time, and that's in our young people. And I have to say that that's really been appreciated by them. And I know that Mr. Turner, he spoke at the last cohort, the orientation day, and really set a charge to the current interns about taking advantage of this opportunity.
Thank you so much. And is that program still open for applications at this time? And if not, for those that are listening in youth, when can they apply?
The application is open now. It's 2 applications. There's one for high school students who are over the age of 16, juniors and seniors. And then there's also an application for students who are in college, and so that includes undergrad and graduate, or recent college graduates as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Any more questions or comments? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Kathy Jensen.
Thank you. So I want to go back to the question that the mayor asked about both entities collaborating and talking about this. It makes sense. So as we sit here and we have everybody at the table, part of the council just got back from Washington, and one of the biggest things that was talked about was affordable housing and how we can do this. So as we're all sitting around this table, I am asking that we have the city manager here and the county manager here, and both the mayor and the chair of the board, that we make sure that that happens, and that when we come back here next month, that we have something to say that y'all have spoken and getting a plan together, because I understand it's 2 different pots, but we need to get it together because the whole goal is to get out of Tier 1. So if I could ask of that, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Jensen. And since we're speaking on that subject, before we move on, I am being mindful of the time. Is there any interjection would you all like to make a comment on that from either one of the managers, Mr. Greer?
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
Doug? Okay, thank you. If there's no more questions, we will be moving on. Thank you so much for your presentation. And now we will move on to item number 4 on the agenda, Economic Development Presentation. City of Fayetteville, the City of Fayetteville, Chris Cawley. He is the Economic and Community Development Director. We appreciate you being here today, and we look forward to your presentation.
Chris ain't here. It's not Chris.
I do believe we have someone that's going to be standing in for him. You can introduce yourself, please, and your position, since you're standing in the gap for him.
Certainly,
Since he had a
Madam Chair.
conflict is scheduled, I'm just now being informed.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Baker. I'm the Assistant Economic and Community Development Director for the City of Fayetteville. I appreciate this opportunity to present to the County Commissioners and to my City Council. I've been asked to talk with you about the economic development and community development done by the department on behalf of the city. And so real briefly, I'll go through the slides. We use our entitlement funding to do community improvements by investing in infrastructures and public spaces, by advancing affordable housing in the construction and maintenance of those homes throughout the city, and then economic opportunity by promoting local businesses and job creation to boost our local economy for all residents. So there are a couple of pots of funding that we have available, similar, you heard, to the county's pots. We have CDBG, also known as Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership Program, which does affordable housing, Emergency Solutions Grant, which is our response to homelessness, and then Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, which is the only federal program that deals with the AIDS epidemics for housing. We use all of these funds as an entitlement community to advance areas either in housing or economic development, but housing does constitute economic development when done right. Our priorities and needs translates into goals for us. So our priority needs that have been identified are affordable housing, some public service, which you could think of as social services, neighborhood revitalization, economic development, of course, capacity building for our local nonprofits, addressing homelessness, and along with effective management. Our goals similarly align to the priorities identified, creating affordable housing using CDBG and home, filling in those public gap services in social services for low to moderate income families, as well as remove blight and support housing and economic development initiatives. So currently, this is how our funding is divided up, with CDBG, a little over 1.7, going to public services, demolition and clearance, neighborhood investments, and economic development activities. Home, our $874,000 goes to our local CHODO, as well as 2 local nonprofits to do rehab and affordable down payment assistance as well, a program. ESG, which is the homeless program, $155,000, and then HOPWA, almost $900,000 annually. So all of these have a HUD requirement. Again, you heard Mr. Ty, the Chief of Staff and Interim Director, talk about the consolidated process. We do a market analysis and we do a needs assessment that informs us of the priorities and needs of residents and citizens. Based on that plan, we then develop our goals and our strategies and our priorities. We submit that to our communities, get feedback on that for 30 days. Then we present that to a local board, our Citizen Advisory Board, and then ultimately to City Council. But we do also do some stakeholder engagements, which includes the counties, our nonprofit partners, and the Housing Authority. To come up with that plan, again, we do a needs assessment, a market analysis. You see there it fits together like a puzzle, the community input, deriving the housing data and analysis to inform a strategic plan, which then we allocate resources to target. So I talked a little bit about that. So let's talk about how housing and our economic development fits into these categories. The population is over 209,000 in the city. That's a growth of over 4% in the last 10 years. Over 81,000 households within the city. That's a 6% increase, while the median income was $56,395. Now that is the 2023 median income. It's based on our findings during that period. The needs assessment translates into poverty and our rate of poverty. Currently, within the city, we have an 18.1%. That is an increase slightly over the last about a half of a point in the last 10 years. So for a household of one, what that looks like is someone making less than $42,000. And so by driving and making sure that we maintain or create affordable housing, that will release the burden that our residents feel. Currently, the cost of housing, the median value is $189,000, and this prior to the reevaluation. It may have gone up since the reevaluation. The median rent was 55% higher over the last decade. Housing, the home value rose 44% over the last decade. However, incomes only rose at 0.25%. So you can see that the cost of home ownership and rental increased significantly and outpaced people's income. As a result of that, more than 10% is severely cost burdened, meaning they spend more than 50% of their income on housing to have safe, decent, and affordable housing. That's less money they can spend in our shops and invest in our local economy with businesses when they're spending greater than 30%. Altogether, there's 15% that spend greater than 30%, and so that means that about a quarter of our population is spending more than what HUD and the federal government says is necessary to have a place that's affordable and decent and safe. Again, that reduces the money they have to spend locally. Rental is about the same. almost 50% of our renters are cost burdened. 23 is severely cost burdened, spending more than 50% of their salary. More than 24% is spending more than 30. So again, that is significant of a portion that cannot afford to invest and spend and recreate and play within our community. And so in prioritizing our needs, affordable housing is one of the biggest ways that we can make an impact, along with economic development, supportive services, and creation of public facilities. Home repairs is also in maintaining affordable housing options. But I do want to take a moment to talk directly to our economic development activities and not just include housing. So our workforce development, we are funding 10 programs with $1.4 million in ARPA funding. In our small business assistance and commercial exterior program, annually we're spending almost $600,000 to either create jobs or retain jobs while improving our corridors and local economy. Downtown management, we work with Cool Springs Downtown District, which is our nonprofit partner, but the Municipal Service District is working to bring enhanced services downtown. And then we partner with Fayetteville-Cumberland Economic Development Corporation as well, a collaborative partnership with the county, PwC, as well as some incentive agreements to spur local growth. And at this time, I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have.
I open the floor for any questions. If my board members, any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I don't have a question. I did want to, again, thank you, Mr. Baker, very informative. Can you share that slide with maybe our boards or either at least this committee? I know we were trying to keep up with it by taking pictures, but it's good information. But the other thing is I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of Mayor Pro Tem's statement. You want to put that in the form of a motion that we would can take recommendations to our boards that the managers get our community and economic development staffs together to report back on collaborative efforts for overall poverty reduction or some alignment of some of these programs. They're very similar, but I'm sure that they have a different component. Particularly interested to hear once Hope Mills makes their presentation.
I'm good with that.
I mean, because I know we talked about it, but I just want to put some formal action on it.
You can make a formal motion, either one of you, please.
Okay. Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the city and county economic development departments come together and help me recommend.
Yeah, recommendations. So city, maybe the motion, Madam Pro Tem, will be for recommendation to our prospective boards that they instruct the managers to have a report back of some collaborative ideas that could help in the overall goal of what both the city and the county's outcomes are for poverty reduction and economic development.
I put that in the form of a motion.
And then can we have that as a second on the board? Someone to second that, please? Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand.
That is unanimous.
And I would just like to add one thing. I know we've been saying affordable housing. Thank you all both for your presentation, but I would like for us to refer to it moving forward as workforce housing, as that is what population that is in workforce housing would like for it to be referred to. Thank you. And yes, Mr. Chairman, comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple comments. One, I think it goes without saying, I think at every one of these we've said, well, let's find a way to collaborate. I think that's why we're here, and I think that's why you're seeing the presence of the leadership here, and we're activating these and having this type of dialogue. So I think the spirit of cooperation is there. Mayor, you and we've had those conversations. So I think as we push it into our staffs, I think this is a good first step. I do think we look at those common touch points between the two plans and give some specific guidance to our managers on what we're looking for, both in the realm of community development with the federal programs, and we all know we're watching those, but as well as also with the economic development touch. And I know we both invest in the bigger picture with what Robert does with his corporation, but how we can make those touch points, and then potentially how we're not just looking at unencumbered dollars or dollars that are restricted, but we look for opportunities like we've done with the community grant program to fund other items that will be unrestricted. And just talking with the chairwoman a little bit, I'm hoping we can get into additional conversation around housing, both workforce and affordable, because there's a lot of opportunity, I believe, for us to collaborate. And quite frankly, a lot of the projects that we do are in the city when it comes to market rate housing and affordable housing, that we're using our dollars to help offset and bridge the gap of some of these projects that are happening inside the city limits. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I just have one question for you, Mr. Baker, because again, these meetings are to see, as we already know, no doubt, and I appreciate the motion, that our two managers meet all the time. But because we do have you here and you do this work daily, and I express this to Ty as well, one thing that I'd like to see come from these meetings is, what would you recommend, since you are economic development? I'd like to put that in a form of a question. What recommendations would you have, since you work in economic development? Then I will pose that same question to him, of recommendations that both of these boards could perhaps come together in. Any type of projects that you all see, or, because I believe that those that working in the ground, works in their specialty area, need a voice in that. So since you're here and this is what this is for, can you yourself give us at least one recommendation of what you'd like to see both boards come together on? And I'll be asking Mr. Ty the same thing.
Certainly. I'd like to express my thanks, and I'd like to ask continued support from the city manager and the city council. They have been gracious these last 2 years that I have been in this role, and heard some exciting things and adopted some policies and procedures that will make us more successful in generating housing and creating economic development. They have been supportive in our single-family housing development and some initiatives such that we have brought forth, whether it's Section 8 or any of our other lending TIP programs. And so I'd ask that they stay current, that they stay active, that they stay involved, and that they continue to support us as we bring these new initiatives forward in these collaborative efforts.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to Ms. Yes, I'm going to move on to her. But Ty, I did say, and again, I know they already meet, but are there any new recommendations? That's what I'm hoping, I guess, from me, respectfully, to get out of these meetings. Anything new that's not already in place, type of recommendation that you feel that the city and county perhaps can look into or put in place. And I do appreciate that, but that's what the question is. Something that's not already being done.
I think and this is not me getting out of the question. I think collaboration is important. I think at this particular juncture, as the city and county both go through the consolidated planning process, that is in itself a strategic plan. And so when that is presented to the prospective boards at that time, and the board gives feedback, I think it would give the county department as well as the city department information on what the goals and priorities are, and then from there we can build collaboration out of that, is I think is what's important. So I know what the current plan is, consolidated plan is, but as we do the needs assessment, the market analysis, and we build those goals in that strategic plan, then I think we can definitely come back and we can share, and it's only a month away, the plan is due May 17th. And so we can come back and share some deliverables and some concrete goals in that new plan.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I would like to make a motion. One recommendation that I have before I go into the next question. I respect that the city does have transportation that, is their responsibility, but I would like to put a motion on the floor that somehow to be more support to make transportation, overall public transportation for the city and county more collaborative. I'm making a motion that that's something that our town managers, or even both the city board as well as the county board, will look into ways of seeing how the county perhaps can be in support, so that we can have a more, I guess you can say, we can empower or enhance and expand our transportation system. So that is something I think that's very important economically, that I hear from the community. So I'm making a motion that the managers maybe discuss, as well as both boards, how can we, the county, since you all do take the front lead in with transportation, how can we perhaps be of assistance in that area, whether it's financial or see about maybe operational ideas and suggestions is my motion.
So Madam Chair, just to make sure I'm clear, your motion will be to ask if they could analyze the regional transit approach
Yes.
that and how it plays into the overall goal of helping to meet some of these needs.
Right, and to see how we can perhaps be of partnership or that of expansion for our transportation. Again, I realize that is you all's area, but if the issue is funding or that of operational, perhaps we can be of some assistance to be able to
Well, we
allow.
always love to take some money.
I know you did. And again, that's why I said, both managers can look and see what that would partake, because I hear all the time, we don't, the way our system is set up, we have municipalities on the outside, transportation should be running to Spring Lake and Hope Mills. Just the thought that I'm putting out there, since that's what these meetings are about. Is it not about trying to find ways the city and the county can work together for the better enhancement?
I'll second that motion.
I know you will. And again, it needs to be looked into. It really does. I hear this all the time. We're not trying to be a Charlotte, we're not trying to be a Raleigh, but at the end of the day, we are expanding, and those are great concerns. And individuals that live in Spring Lake and individuals that live in Hope Mills, they are a part of this economic development. They spend money here all the time. They work here. I don't want to steal anyone's thunder. I know we have someone coming from Hope Mills, and I don't know, they might want to address that as well. So that's what my motion is, yes. Both managers and the commissioners, Board of Commissioners, and the Board of City will do some research in regards to how can we collaborate or look into how we can be that of a partnership or that of a enhancements for the overall transportation system.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So I certainly, as I plan to second the support of taking this recommendation back to our boards to then give us the trigger to engage the managers for. I think what you're describing is important, that we've missed somewhat in this community. If you think about metro areas, you think about Atlanta, the city of 400,000, but Metro Atlanta 4 million. So at the end of the day, all of us are interconnected, and we need to do the same with services and those kind of things. So I think that's where you're going. There's been some work. I think Mayor Pro Tem and Hope Mills have talked about that, but I would certainly support you by second to take that back to our boards to kind of come back with those due-outs that Metro Transit, if I hear what you're saying, and how you could partner better, and how Kirk could try to send some money over there to transit. I love that idea.
Since my motion is on the floor, I want to take a vote, and then I do have two questions.
And then Courtney.
We do have discussion.
Okay. Well, discussion, is there anyone who wants to input with this discussion before we move forward on this topic?
Yeah.
City Councilwoman, we'll go to you first. Courtney McLaughlin, you've been waiting, and then we'll go to Commissioner Patel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This probably go into the question that I had. Great conversation. In this motion, can we put a time frame on it? Because that was one of my questions as far as we talked about the very first meeting. I put a motion out for child care. So we need to put some time frame on it so that it just won't get lost in conversations.
Okay,
So definitely put a time frame.
Okay, so how about give them opportunity to come back at our next meeting with May? Would May work for you all?
I think the sooner the better. I'll support that. In fact, transit came out of strategic planning as a priority for us, so we're certainly inclined to accelerate that.
And can we bring that back with the child care? Because that was the first meeting we discussed.
Okay, so I'll redo the motion, and I'll frame it to where time frame for both the child care, where we're at on that from the first meeting, as well as transportation, to give them an opportunity in the month of April to do some research and get together. And before I do that motion, Commissioner Patel, your input on this discussion, please.
Yes, so thank you. I think it's a great idea for us to all work together, especially when it relates to transportation. One thing I would ask, since we do have our manager from Hope Mills, we need to probably talk to our leadership out in Spring Lake and with the other municipalities, excuse me, in the county. But I would advise that we also bring in FAMPO and the MPO to see where we can get money from them. And two, we already have a lot of regional players that have been working on this, so it would make sense. So let's get a strong sentiment from them.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna frame this motion then. The motion on the floor is that the county and the city managers, as well as the Board of Commissioners, as well as the City Council, will discuss how we can come together in regards to enhancing and elevating the transportation system, which is led by the city. In that, of the discussions between the managers, we will make sure that we include that of what Commissioner Patel has stated, getting involved with FAMPO and anyone else that might be already working in this area, to include that of how we can also, with the municipalities, Spring Lake and Hope Mills, how this can benefit to them as well. And we will put a time limit target date on this. The motion will be, this information will be brought back at our next meeting in May, as well as a second to that, since we have not had a follow-up with our child care, we'll make sure that those are two things that will be brought back in the May meeting for the city and county liaison meeting. Okay, I'm sorry.
I do have discussion.
Okay, we're not finished with discussion. I thought we were. Mayor Pro Tem.
So as we're making this motion, I just want to make sure that we have the right people at the table, because FAMPO has been talking about this. There has been quite a bit of work done to what you were talking about. So, you know, we have the chairman of FAMPO in the room right now. We have the vice chair of FAMPO in. The mayor of Spring Lake is on FAMPO. The, you know, and Hope Mills, I think they have their representative. Right. I don't think it's the mayor. And I'm on it. So I guess my question is, do we, in the motion, do we want to make sure that the FAMPO members are sitting at the table, because a lot of the work has been done, and you know, it is housed in the county. So I just don't want us to do double work is what I'm asking.
Respectfully, I understand that, but I think respectfully that we're all clear on, again, we know they've done the work, so this is just the motion that other board members have not been involved, and that the managers would drive that, and I would presume, no doubt, as he was stating, that they would definitely include those individuals. I mean, I don't want to make it respectfully, the motion any more complicated than it is. When we state that merging together, to me, that's an automatic, that you all are going to include those already doing work. So respectfully, they would do all that, no doubt. And coming back in May, of course, that would be what the managers would be doing. You know, getting in touch with who they're supposed to get in touch with to bring back collectively that information in May. I hope that we're all clear on that. Like respectfully, the key players, that's what the managers will be doing, making those conversations with that of what the work is done to bring back information on ideas, strategy-wise, of how we can move forward.
So I'm clear on that with the stakeholders. I guess what I want to make sure, because we've got off on the transit, but this originally started as making sure that in your motion, there's clarity for the staffs to examine all of the community and economic development touch points. You know, transit was being one. I know we started talking about transit, but I just wanted to make sure it was captured in there. But okay. I second that.
Manager Greer and the other manager, are you all clear of what we want taken back? If not, then I can restate it again.
No,
Are you clear on what the request ask is and what you're supposed to be doing in May? And who you're supposed to contact?
Yes.
Okay, so if that's okay with everyone, I'd like to move the motion forward, and can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In lieu of time, and thank you, great conversation. So we can continue on with the agenda on numbers. Want to make sure, though, any more questions? Are we good with that before we move on? Thank you so much. So on the agenda, we do have now item number 6, Town of Hope Mills Economic Development Presentation. We have the Town of Hope Mills, Chauncey McLaughlin. He is the town manager, and he does have a lot of background as he once served as the economic.
We got Robo? Yeah, number 5.
It's fine.
I'm sorry, my apologies. No. We're gonna switch it up. I'm sorry, Robert.
Not a problem. I guess I'll serve as the prophet for today. Is
I think what happened, we started talking about municipalities, I looked down here and sit up there.
And so I'd like to thank you guys for welcoming me here today. Chancellor McLaughlin, Town Manager, Town of Hope Mills, Madam Chair, City of Fayetteville, Cumberland County, my counterparts, Brother Greer and Brother Hewitt. I'm here today. This is not my presentation. I'm just here to talk. And I'm here to talk to you about how we can come together and work more cohesively as a county. People don't realize that just how connected Hope Mills is to Fayetteville, or how many areas in Hope Mills that you think are in Hope Mills that are technically in the county. From donut holes to blurred jurisdictions, there are people that may work in the city and county but actually live in Hope Mills. We shop in Fayetteville, we participate in activities in the county, and people still come to Hope Mills because of our quality of life enhancements. We have a very large military population in Hope Mills, and they will benefit from the completion of the 295 loop. From an economic development perspective, one of the most recent things that we've done with the specific goal of partnering is the creation of the Town of Hope Mills Economic Development Committee. While most of our municipal committees consist of citizens and volunteers who have a goal of making an impact in our communities, this specific committee is unique. It's made up of organizations countywide that assist the town in economic development efforts. Members include Cumberland County Long Range Planning, FCEDC, Distinctly Fayetteville, NC Commerce, PwC, NCDOT, and even Cumberland County Schools. The first project that we're actually working on is the completion of a gateway study in the Hope Mills Municipal Influence Area. For many that may not understand, that is the unincorporated portions of the city of Town of Hope Mills, and that's how we actually extend our corporate limits. The study was commissioned pre-COVID, but became stagnated because of the pandemic. With the goal of specifically identifying land use and economic development opportunities along the 295 corridor through Hope Mills, the study is being completed through this committee. That will transition into the second project for the committee, which will be the update of the Hope Mills portion of the Cumberland County Southwest Land Use Plan. I feel that this approach not only brings the region together, but it has the potential to identify economic development efforts that could benefit us all. I also feel that we will also be able to provide recommendations on another initiative that is beneficial to Cumberland County at large: regional transportation. I was sitting over in the corner, I was like, stop talking, this is my presentation. But every one of you are talking about the same thing. We're already talking about it. As the TAC representative for FAMPO, Technical Advisory Committee, we're already at the table. FAMPO serving as our metropolitan planning organization, the Town of Hope Mills utilizes their services for many of our transportation and infrastructure-related projects. To date, and this is key, the Town of Hope Mills has addressed 100% of our pedestrian-oriented recommendations out of the Southwest Plan through FAMPO. From making direct non-vehicular connections between the Town of Hope Mills, Town Hall, and Hope Mills Lake, to sidewalks tied into NCDOT major projects, FAMPO has been an anchor for us to address our needs. And it is with those relationships that we're trying to cultivate regional transportation. We have conducted studies that identify areas within Hope Mills that have the highest need for ridership and people who do not have vehicles. We're also exploring options for a small system that will provide transportation within the limits of Hope Mills to provide access to key areas within our town. But in order to accomplish regional transportation, it will require a collective effort from Hope Mills, Spring Lake, City of Fayetteville, and Cumberland County. This is an opportunity to elevate this region in a way never seen before, and most importantly, it's a reachable goal. A goal that can be achieved, a goal that we must achieve together. Madam Chair, when you talked about recommendations, one of the first recommendations or the things we've been talking about is a crosstown connector. We're not talking about building a hub in Hope Mills. The hub is fast. You don't need a hub in Spring Lake. The hub is fast. You need a crosstown connector to Spring Lake and Hope Mills. That at least achieves the beginning of the regional transportation efforts. If you wanted to talk about Godwin and Falcon and Eastover and things of that nature, that's perfectly fine. When we say the big three, we're talking about Fayetteville, Spring Lake, and Hope Mills. These efforts are already underway, and I'd love to come back next month with more recommendations. But I want everybody to know we're having this conversation now. We just have to be more deliberate. We have a meeting with Commissioner Patel and Dino this week to talk about our efforts through FAMPO. So we have a great relationship with Hank with FAMPO, and I want to stress again, we are doing this. We just have to be more deliberate about how we're going to achieve it. I'd like to open up the floor to any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Mr. Charles, good to see you. Did you all have a cost analysis of those recommendations? Have you already gotten?
We hadn't gotten to that point, but what I want to stress is FAMPO is the mechanism to do this through grant funding and to do it in a way that minimizes the hit to the general fund. It's another program that we are participating in from the League of Municipalities. It's a grant program that provides every municipality with 30,000 billable hours with a company called Witt O'Brien that the league has identified. They are handling our grant efforts. We don't have the staff to actually locate, identify, and monitor grants, but through this program, we're at $6 million in grant submissions. The building resiliency, the BRIC grant, that will be the grant that I feel would actually allow us to do a regional transportation study. That's also through FAMPO. So I think FAMPO is the vehicle that we can utilize to be able to at least identify the costs, but minimize the costs as it relates to hits on all of our general funds.
I just have a comment. Well, thank you for the update, and I'm glad to hear that FAMPO is doing great things and
Yes.
everyone's in discussion, which means that with all this already being in place, that in May, we definitely should have some updates of actions and implementation, because since the conversation's already been prior, I know that our community definitely is glad to hear that, because you know they're all about action and implementation. So the good news is this is just going to drive that force, even greater. So when May comes, we will have some of these answers, since we have all the key players in the room, and I'm glad FEMA is here and the meeting's coming up. So I look forward to actions in April taking place to hear some initiatives in May. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we're going to go back now, and my apologies again. We're going to backtrack here, number 5, Economic Development Presentation, Fayetteville-Cumberland County Economic Development Corporation. We have with us Mr. Robert Van Goons. He is the President and CEO of FCEDC. And we are looking forward to his presentation.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be with you today. I will be as respectful as I possibly can by a timer going down on my watch to give me the old heave-ho off of there. But if I could just, Councilwoman Banks McLaughlin's comment about childcare, a site selector, when I spoke with one not too long ago, I said, what could Fayetteville do to outcompete its similarly sized communities that are out there looking for projects and jobs? And the one thing she said to me was, if you can figure out childcare, you can pretty much have any project you want. So just to underscore the importance of that from a workforce standpoint for companies. So I'm happy to be the last one in the order here, because we do fill the role of D, all of the above. We are your designated economic development entity, and that falls into both the traditional and non-traditional types of projects that you ask of us, and we are happy to do for you. Our board, we appreciate their support, appointed by the city, the county, and the private sector, along with our city and county manager, and the president of the college sitting as ex officio. So in a day-to-day work-life environment, we are out there working with existing companies, visiting on roughly 100 a year. We are attending events, working with site selectors, brokers, and pursuing companies. We are chasing new real estate developers to come in and build product, wanting to leverage private sector investment wherever we can. And we're out there marketing our community electronically in a variety of ways, from speaking at events to being part of conferences to more traditional means of mail, internet, and targeted geolocated social media. We do maintain a database of all available buildings and sites that are ready for commercial and industrial development. That could be office, that could be a data center, that could be a manufacturing facility. I think one thing that we can help our partners with, city and county, is providing customized research and data, even down to working for our existing employers. We can show where their employees come from, where they go on their way home from work. When we talk about transit, and we talk about childcare, we talk about food deserts, how people come and go to work and where they go allows us to better align those investments on the public sector side. So we do work with our municipalities, trying to achieve their goals where we can. And we do work to secure funding and grants and share that information, as well as assisting with legislative efforts wherever appropriate. So we do sell this community as a whole. We have an incredible amount of diversity, affordability. We fit into a very sweet spot amongst peers as far as competition for labor goes. Some say we have a slightly higher than the state average unemployment rate. I say we have a slightly more available workforce. So it's all about how you package up that messaging there. But we are younger than our peers, we are more diverse than our peers, and we are more affordable than our peers, fighting for comparable talent. So over the last few years, they say, why do you start in January 17? That happens to be when I got here. So we've announced over $1.37 billion of investment, 5,000 new jobs. You can see some of the places we get out there, and everything. I'm willing to get up live with a band in front of a group of site selectors if it makes them happy. Yes, I do have classical training, so don't worry, I'm not embarrassing us. But if they'll remember us, whatever it takes to get that job done. You can see at Select USA being a speaker there, working with brokers and attending events. So currently, we track our activities in leads and projects and announcements, coming down to, it's great to be busy, but if we don't land the deal, if we don't get the jobs here, then all our work is really for naught. But you can see we are coming off of some of the most busy years that have been in the history of economic development. A few of these projects, you have all played a role in these. Booz Allen Hamilton, Phillips Towing Service. We do have a number of affinity groups. We are building out new business parks. We have new spec buildings coming out of the ground, as well as trying to promote existing buildings, whether it's former Sophie building or the Liberty Point spec buildings down in Hope Mills. Project Arrow was our largest announcement to date. 300 jobs, $867 million. Talking with city and permitting staff today, that project will take time. There's a lot of things involved, from financing, from permitting, from annexation, but it is moving forward. The design work is underway, and the company is spending money as we would expect to keep that moving. Helping existing employers grow with Booz Allen Hamilton. City and the county approved incentives for that project. Working with Amazon, our largest job creating project there, which now has over 1,000 jobs, which is more than they had originally committed to. NVR opened up on Dunn Road. You can see Campbell's Soup, which was the first project in the, what do we call the business park? Because we've sold it, I've forgotten now. Not Cape Fear Industrial Park. What do we call it out there? Your former industrial park that we've sold to a private developer who's now building it out. And you see the project we did with Phillips Towing.
Cedar Creek Industrial Park?
Cedar Creek, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We did have a raccoon break into our house again last night, so I did lose a little sleep. I apologize, I'm a little slower than I'd like to be. True story, we've got video for you. But everything's all good. Everybody's happy and everybody's separated.
You need to call animal control? I know
it's all right. They've been out. That's it there. So speaking of grants, here's an example where we did a site development grant. We also got a grant to help PwC extend sewer along Corporation Drive. This is where a site has been graded out with funds from Golden Leaf As you can see, OPM, Other People's Money, is my favorite for our community. We are working through a next generation talent initiative, of which you are part, and managing our Black Voice Museum project. And so I show those as three very different projects, but if you ask, and if you direct, and if you provide us the resources we need to do it, we are happy to take on any challenge as long as it advances the overall good of the community. So right now, we've had 29 projects come in, 7 project visits. We have 1 coming in tonight and tomorrow. Everything from wood veneer to aerospace projects, manufacturing from around the globe. You can see a lot of international interest there. Summarizing 2024, looking back, it was our best year for announcements, our best year for jobs created, our best year for new leads generated, our second best year for visits, and we also, with the county's efforts, acquired the first parcel that'll go into the mega site we're trying to develop. We have more than 150 Can-Do Fund applicants for the investment project. We're working with the city and with state funds, and working through a number of other special projects. We are starting to see a limit with product, where we no longer have large rail sites because Project Arrow took our largest site. We have under contract our best data center site. We are working our way towards acquiring interest in what will be the mega site, but getting infrastructure to them, having well-served, ready to develop, industrial-friendly sites where they don't conflict with other land uses has to be a priority for us going forward. We do have a few older, larger buildings. Some of those are being impacted by, we had deals that were, as tariffs and the such come on play, federal policy impacts trade policy, impacts deals as they come. We're hoping to see at least one of those move off the market soon. And we've seen a real interest in the Can-Do brand. Wrapping up here, because I've hit my 7 minutes. These are some of the items that we are pushing for in the coming year, taking our efforts beyond what we have done in the past to a new level. And that includes working with Ted Abernathy on the next generation workforce and innovation strategy. Working to do dynamic marketing, partnering up with the business journals in not just in our state, but in competing markets, or markets where we have a value-added proposition, to markets where we are trying to get our air flights to. We have great ties to places like Tampa and Washington, D.C. So we want everyone to know who Fayetteville and Cumberland County are and what we're doing here. Working with a contracted lead generation services to make our pipeline more robust, developing the mega site. And really, I think one of the things that, the few things we could really work together on across everyone here in the room is bringing I-685 to Cumberland County. That is a project that, if it were to come our way, would benefit Fort Bragg. It would benefit economic development. It would ultimately connect us to the ports. It would be $2 billion cheaper than the original idea, but it's something we all need to be behind, because somebody's going to want to take our lunch money. And this is a project that we need to have driving traffic and commerce and connecting us to the mega sites going all the way up to Greensboro, such as Toyota Battery and the like. Redeveloping the US 31 and the Doc Bennett Road area around the airport, through past the Crown, down to the airport. It's things we've talked about, there's interest there, but that is a gateway to our community for all those that fly in, and it's also a great opportunity for economic development, redevelopment. We've talked about the next generation ready workforce, but we really do need your support, because much of this deals around education. And you end up being the drivers on the county side, with the revenue side, with the city, your commitment to making it an outcome-based, value-added tool to enhance economic development and to attract and retain the best talent in our community. We want all the smart people that come to work here to live here, and that means having our education system in a way where it is something that is pursued by residents versus concern. And I think also working there on a national PR and media campaign, we all have great stories, but they only generate inertia when they are told together, because we are not as big as New York City. We're not going to out-tech the Silicon Valley, but we have incredible stories when the college, the towns, the community works together with a private sector company. That's when we can get picked up in national publications. And then again, replenishing our fleet of supply of shovel-ready sites and extending infrastructure to that next generation sites. It's probably the one of the more long-term and absolutely necessary challenges we need to address. And you can see here some of those growth corridors: 401, I-95, 24, around the airport in our megasite corridor, Hope Mills along the interchanges on 95. It won't be today, it won't be all at once, but we need to start making steps to extend infrastructure out to where we have potentially buildable sites. You need a critical nexus to have that opportunity for growth and job creation. We also, too, want to be able to provide separation between residences, schools, and job-creating centers. So with that, I think that's probably a good place for me to stop. I will be happy to pause to take any questions here.
Any questions?
I mean, there's more, but no.
At this time, I'll open the floor to our board members and our staff for questions. Any questions? Mayor Mitch Colbert, and then I'll go to Mayor Pro Tem.
Robert, thank you for that. The mayor and the county chair are members of the Economic Development Board, which is one of the best examples of city-county collaboration for a common goal. So I think we can duplicate that. Question is, on those mega sites, as we talk about preparing for future growth, as you know, when companies show up, they don't have time for you to get ready. You have to be ready. So what is the timeline and the discussion? I know we hit some of this in our meetings, but now as we're finding our footing with these targeted sectors that fit best between defense and what Cape Fear and Methodist are doing on the medical side, and we have a lot of interest in that. What is our timeline with getting these sites ready? Is there a 3-year window? Is that a 5-year window? Is that a 1-year window?
I think we can, for the mega site itself, having the property under control, that is literally on top of us right now. The state will help fund through grants things like due diligence, geotech, and the like. But we need to find ways to fund the things that they won't, which is engineering, right-of-way acquisition. We don't have to build all the infrastructure today, but we have to be able to put a dedicated timeline on construction to get there when the funds come. For example, with Project Arrow, we are able to get grants from Golden Leaf and the state to provide water and sewer and extend that infrastructure. But the time is in the design, the permitting, and the layout. And that is where we will lose out to those that either have it already there or further along. So that is something that we really do need to invest in for these high opportunity development sites. Having them under control, but also having everything but the most expensive part done on construction.
Do you have a dollar amount?
I do not. Not at this. Not in the top of my head here.
Well, we can't go shopping without a list. So
I will have one for you.
Any more questions? Comments from our chairman, Devier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple quick comments. One, that infrastructure slide, if you can go back to that. Thanks, Robert. That is, I'm going to talk about that too, but that one. That is extremely critical, and I would just say that there is a focus now on this board to begin to look at, from the commissioner's side, how we do that. From the city side, we're going to need, your biggest asset is sitting down there with PwC. We're going to need that help, and they've been helpful. I'm not saying they're not, but as we move forward in this, there's a lot of work to be done from just water, sewer, infrastructure across the state, as well as broadband. What we're looking at from hopefully from a development side and ordinance side, and how we look at that from a common standpoint across the county. So knowing those are the kind of things we're going to be looking to work together towards. Tier 1, Robert, if you can flip to that. We tackled that. I clearly heard that when we came aboard with this new board. We've got a meeting with the Secretary of Commerce this week. I've got Robo wrapped into it to look at the data side, to argue whether or not that population numbers are right based on our military. And we're also having conversations with them about they can create a blueprint for how we move. And so we're having those conversations with them to get those resources, get other people's money down here helping us. So we're actively looking at that. And then the last question I'll have, Robert, and I can get offline with you on this, but, and I don't know if you haven't, I just haven't seen it, but as we look at all the projects of the last 20 plus years where we've made incentives, and we know that we've giving back taxes, at some point that reverses the other way. Do we have some kind of matrix? I almost think about it like debt, when debt rolls off. Do we have something that shows when we're going to start seeing the impact of those property tax dollars?
Yeah, and for some of our projects, due to a variety of factors, either they changed ownership or the other side of it, they didn't take theirs, or aren't, like Amazon's an example, as they won't be taking their incentives, their choice on that for the project you look to fund. So today it's all new revenue on their $125 million investment there. I would say we are, as soon as the final numbers are out, we are working to update that, because a lot of the projects that I worked on when we first got here are only now coming, like NVR completed their building this year and the next. As soon as those tax numbers are out on real and personal property, and we have access to those, we are going to have that built out, and we'll be sharing it with you.
And the reason why I ask that is I think it's important for the boards to look at as we're making these incentives and we're potentially crafting different incentive policies, that we see that it takes years to see that money come back, but it will, and that's our future growth.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Comments or any other discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Jensen?
Thank you. Robo, thank you for your report. It was always informative. And, you know, I think as we're sitting here at this meeting that we are seeing that we are all pulling into a new day, especially of our status that we had at Tier 1 that I think came back to us, 4 months ago? And everybody sitting at this table said, how can this be? And instead of accepting it, everybody now is coming together and saying, well, let's look at the numbers. Let's figure it out, because I think we're all wanting to get up to that Tier 2. So we want Tier 3, but we're eating the elephant right now. So my question to you is, after looking at that graph that Chairman Devier brought back up, can you tell us the importance of countywide water for economic development?
I can tell you the importance of countywide water and sewer.
Okay.
And without sewer, it does not have anywhere near the opportunity potential for economic development. With water alone, important people to have good drinking water, and it does allow for some light residential, some light industrial, but mostly allows for a higher density residential development. If you want to be able to have things with a higher density or commercial industrial use, it has to have sewer capacity to go with it. So without sewer capacity, you do not have projects, period, for industrial
And that
development.
is either housing or even commercial?
Correct.
Correct? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I serve on the Infrastructure Committee. We know the importance of that, as well as our chairman is the chair of that particular committee. So I just want him, since we do have listening audience out there, and again, these meetings, we need to be mindful. They are for us to do collaboration, but it's also for educational awareness, because of the fact that we need to make sure that we keep our community informed and updated on everything. So with that being said, since you are the chair of the Infrastructure Committee, I would like for you to just give a brief update, because that is the significance of importance of some actions that we have already implemented and continue to implement for such an important factor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Jensen, for those comments. You're exactly right, and I think that's why we are focusing specifically on what countywide water and sewer looks like, and not just talking about it, but you're going to, I believe, in this next budget cycle, you're going to see the investment that's been needed sorely for years, both in water and sewer. And I'll come back to, we need PwC with it, and I'm not saying they're not, but knowing as we move forward, just like everything else that we were just talking about with FAMPO and everything else, this is a regional approach. Yeah. This is a county approach at first, which means Fayetteville's in the county. We're together on this, and so we're going to have to, we're going to specifically look at the infrastructure, and you're going to be seeing some things. Our staff has been doing a lot of great work. The Infrastructure Committee has been doing good work. You're seeing a lot of noise around water right now in Grace Creek, because we know that's critical. Water out to the schools, water in general. But over the next several months, you're going to begin to see a bigger plan on where we're going, and it's going to take some time. This doesn't happen overnight. But looking at not just the residential growth, but also the industrial and the commercial growth, so we can make sure that we are poised to receive everything that Robo is bringing to us, Robert is bringing to us down the pipe, and then we can go out and actively recruit other things as well. But it's not just water and sewer, it's our road infrastructure. I-685, we're squarely in the middle of it. We've engaged the private sector as well, and there's a lot of people in this room that have been part of that. We're going to ensure that we win that and we don't miss that opportunity, and we're talking all the way up to DC, and I know y'all did as well. While we were up there, all the way to the state level and our relationships at the state. So that's important. And we've also got to continue to close that gap on broadband as well. So when you talk about infrastructure, it's roads, water, sewer, broadband. we've got the grants that came down. We're going to make sure we're aggressive and we're finalizing those and closing that last mile or looking for ways to do that. So that's kind of a snapshot of where we are, 100 and maybe 120 days in, but we're moving very aggressively when it comes to infrastructure because we know that helps every municipality across here, and we want to do it in a collaborative way. So these larger regional entities like FAMPO and others, we need to leverage them, and so we've turned the committee members that our commission has on that loose to make sure we're collaborating and looking at a regional and a bigger picture.
All right, I'm going to be mindful of time. We did say that we would be ending by 1:30. So before we move on for the agenda item number 7, and thank you so much. Are there any more questions or discussion? Any more questions or discussion? We will be moving on to item number 7, other items of business. Any other items of business from our board or even that from our town managers, item of business? All right then. If there's no other items of business, then I would ask for a motion to adjourn,
So move, ma'am.
and I would ask for a second.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. This meeting has been adjourned for today. Our next meeting will be April 21st at 12 o'clock.